Well, thanks everyone for joining us for the December Ag Economic Dialogue session. I think we'll get going here this morning as we've got two great Outlook presentations coming for you. So joining us today are Jack Davis and Laura Edwards. So we will we'll just kick off the meeting, and Jack, I'll turn it over to you and you can go from there.
Okay, we'll get the presentation pulled up here and get started. Okay, so can everybody hear me decent? And it should be in presentation mode, I believe. And let's see if we can page down. Had a little. I don't know why I don't want. Maybe if I use this little control thing over here, find my mouse. There we go. That might work a little better. Yeah, just an introduction again. Jack Davis, out of the Mitchell office. Can surely reach me through the email, which is just our name, and then sdstate.edu or call either way. So we're going to look at what happened the past few years as far as cost and the little financial situation, and then take a look at our 2024 budget. Here is links to a couple budget tools that we have through the Nest School of Management, is our crop budgets and the cattle budgets. So those links, and if you're using them and have questions, sure, feel free to reach out, or if you have people that are looking for that type of thing, feel free to share those. So if you've heard before, and I should probably put that on the slide, but I use FinBin and University of Minnesota. That's where that is housed. And I've queried farms in North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Nebraska. So kind of a 4-state area. And for most of this, I have the top 40% as far as net income. And these are 1,000 to 2,000 acre crop farms. I just thought it was interesting to maybe take a look at this, and I go back a little over 10 years, back to 2010, but just kind of showing that peak where we were in 12 and then how it fell off from there. And I just want to talk about it a little bit. In 12, our gross sales were right at 1.8 million. See if I can get my highlighter to go here. So we're 1.8 million here, and in 22 we're at 1.92 million for this group. And again, it's those farms in North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Nebraska. In that total data set, there's about 3,000 farms that are into that. And again, I've pulled the top 40% for crop farms in that 1,000 to 2,000 acre area. Their size was about 1,400 acres, pretty well through the whole deal, through the time frame. So that's what we were looking at. And again, we went up in total gross. In 12, our total expenses were right at a million, about 986,000 to be a little closer. That is 54% of gross sales. So really good margin at that time frame in 12. You know, I think people had bought their inputs, and then it took the run up, and crop insurance was really good that year. If you didn't produce, they'd had high yields ahead of that, and prices were really good. The guarantees were really good back then. So net income at that time, back in 12, ended up being 46% of gross. If we jump forward to 22, we're looking at 1.9 million, almost almost 2 million, and total expenses of 1.1 million, or almost 1.2, with a net income around 746,000. So our gross is higher, but our total expenses are higher, and they're higher as a percent. So they are running about 61%, which is still pretty decent. And net income then is 39% of gross. So just wanted to share that with you. And then if we look at how it fell off really quick in 13, 14, and then, still in 15, just kind of went down, and we had those 15 through probably 19 where it was really tight margins. I would almost kind of anticipate some of that going forward with the surpluses in grains that we have, and just the way things are currently. I think 23 we may not see quite the fall off that we did in 13, but the way it looks right now for 24, prices aren't at the high level that as they were in 23. So it'll be interesting how we go forward. In 13, we had a 27% drop of gross. I don't anticipate that, I guess, in 23. Expenses then ended up at 72% of gross income, and the net was down to 28% already. So a 55% drop in 1 year of net income from 2012 to 13. I wouldn't look for that in 23. I don't think that'll fall off, but we sure could fall 50% from 22 to 24. So here, just looking at how we use some of that net farm income, just showing those fluctuations. And then, as it really fell down, the net farm income in these years, guys adjusted their capital expenditures pretty well and stayed within the means. Family living kind of stays fairly steady. That may have taken a jump. We'll see how that comes out in 23, with fuel being higher and just the general inflation being higher. That may take a little bit more of a jump than it did over this past time frame. So guys will have to adjust kind of that capital expenditures, which, with higher interest rates, I think people are cognizant of that and are watching their budgets, their capital budget, and what they're investing in. Just looking at current ratio, as incomes fell, guys really took care of that current ratio. Paid off debt, stayed current, and stayed in a good financial position. So we'll see how that holds up going forward into 23 and 24. We are down, probably a little lower than what many would like to see it. It's at 28%, might rather see that at 30 and above, but we'll see going forward where that holds. And it always depends on what makes up that current ratio. What is it? Is it quality? Is it cash? Is it prepaid expenses? Is it account receivable? Those things that are pretty solid cash, or is it unpriced grain in the bin? And hopefully guys took their 22 inventory and turned it to cash, and throughout 23 and used it wisely. So that always makes a difference in what the quality of that current asset is. Then looking at total debt to asset, asset values have really stayed fairly strong. And again, this is for those same farms, the 1,000 to 2,000 acre farm at market value is what this is, debt to asset. They do not tend to change land values or those longer term asset values, but of course, the currents will change with the market. But here's our total debt to asset ratio on the farm. Still pretty workable, and as we saw, really stayed fairly strong through those tight margin times. We're trending up again, but hopefully guys are able to pay debt down and make good choices with the cash that they have. And of course, most of it is in long-term assets. So buildings, land, those types of things, that is leveled off. And this I have done same group, and it's per acre. So this is their long-term assets, the current assets and intermediate values per acre that they are cropping. That is an old one. I think just wanted to reference, we've come, and the next slide is one we'll pay more attention to, but just take a look at where these prices were in 20 before it took off in 21 on the fertilizer side. We're not back down to those levels yet. Now, nor is the output price, but as the next slide will show, we have come down pretty decent in fertilizer and input costs, but not near where we were in 20. So just comparing 2022 to 2023, and then here is our percent change from that time frame. Again, down quite a bit. As you can see there, 43%, 18, 19, 40 again, another 18, and 5 on the diesel. So all of those major input things are down, but again, not down to where we were in 20. These are taken from the Iowa Production Cost Report. So I just went back and picked that up for these items, which are mostly used up here in South Dakota. I subscribe to a newsletter on fertilizer, so I grabbed this from them, and what it does, it's charting new crop. In this one, I have new crop corn compared to a ton of urea. So these are the unit of crop. So these would be the bushels required to purchase a ton of urea. And you can see how out of line that got in 21. That's where we just took off. It was crazy that fall in through the spring and winter of 21. So little more back in line, not where we were necessarily in 20 and 19, but still, fairly reasonable. Some things that could influence that. Of course, international conflicts, not a lot comes out of there where most of that's taking place right now, but if that would happen to spread to other countries, it can disrupt that shipping. The other thing is, as we come into spring, they'll need to start moving a lot of fertilizer and moving it up here. Guys are using it to get planting, and our river system low again. So that could be an issue that that could come about. Pretty decent prices compared to where we've been in recent years. So not a bad time to look at. If you haven't already, take a look at maybe pricing some of that, and then if you're happy with that, maybe price some grain against it. So you don't want to get caught on either side of it. On this group, I switched up a little bit and I used all the farms in that database from South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, and Nebraska above 1,000 acres. So anything above 1,000 acres that is in the group, I pulled these costs, and these costs are for corn, and then I put it on a per bushel price. So in 22, seed running right at 50 some cents, and I think it was $1.08 or so, $1.10 on fertilizer in 22 per bushel of corn. Well, I'll show him a couple different ways here. So here's the two stacked together. We're coming in at $1.65 or so, a little over $1.60 for 22. And when we're doing 550 or better on corn, that's not too bad. When we're down around $4, 4.25, that makes it a little tighter. So here, just taking seed, fertilizer, and the price per bushel, and this is what that group that from that database received for their price, not necessarily a marketing year price. This is the price that they listed in the database that they were receiving. So that's where that comes from. Now, just taking this is part of big picture stuff from the budgets that I showed the link from earlier, and here being our variable cost for corn, equipment and labor, and then a return to land. So in the labor, I got about $50 to $60 is for labor and management in there, and the rest would be the equipment cost. You can see corn and beans, why they went out over wheat in eastern and central South Dakota even. It just, in many places, the competition from what you can get for corn and soybeans is too strong to plant much of the acres to wheat. And then I have some minor crops, sunflowers, field peas, and alfalfa is still fairly competitive. So in these budgets, there's a 225 bushel corn, so pretty decent yield. For next year was selling at 540. So, and alfalfa is right at 5 ton to the acre. So here took that same slide using seed, fertilizer, and added rent into it. And as you can see, we're getting projecting out into 24, just using futures price and taking a basis is where it came with the price. We're just really covering those items And yeah, so makes it could be tight going into 24. Just wanted to show a comparison of crop insurance prices in our spring and harvest. In 22, 590 and 686. So really pretty good coverage on corn and on soybeans there. This year in much of South Dakota, if you came in with your APH even or even a little bit above, you probably got some crop insurance due to the fall in price on the corn side. Uh, Soybeans still fairly strong. Probably had in some areas maybe a little yield reduction. It just varied by location this year with the moisture being so widespread and coming at different times. Here's what they were for wheat in 22 and then also in 23. Here is winter wheat, and then this is the 24 as we planted winter wheat. The planting price was $7.38. So I think as we start to tighten down those margins, really developing those cash flows, use the multiple scenarios on how it might work out, and I think thing that's going to should take priority is maybe back to some capital budgeting principles. We have higher interest than we've had in quite some time. I know there's talk of maybe coming down, but at least they didn't go up this time. So we'll see where that goes going into 24. If we're making capital budgets, you need to invest for efficiency. We all have increased cost on land, equipment cost, replacement cattle. Be careful purchasing those high price replacements. Make sure it works for your operation and it's going to work long term with the interest rates the way they are. So really work through those cash flows and get back to maybe using some capital budgeting practices. And just one little thing before we turn it over to Laura and the real weather. There's the woolly caterpillar, and his wide orange band indicates the mild winter. So that's the guy we found this year, and we'll see what Laura has to say. That's what I have. Do we want to do questions now or do them?
Yeah, we can take any questions if anybody has one now. Otherwise, we'll turn the recording off at the end of the session and we can ask questions there too. Don't have any in the chat, so why don't we, with that excellent segue into the weather conversation, turn it over to Laura and see what she's got for a take on things other than basing it on caterpillars.
I don't know that the woolly caterpillar is very scientific, so.
Yeah, you're right, Jack. It's kind of fun to watch, but probably
Right.
not a lot to it.
Yeah.
All right, I will share the screen here. All right, here we go. So yeah, in this last half of the hour, Heather asked me to talk about kind of the winter outlook, and I'll kind of dabble into the crystal ball a little bit and look into the spring conditions as well, as far as what we're seeing kind of coming down the pike in the next few months or so. So I kind of start with drought in a lot of these kinds of presentations because that kind of gives us a snapshot of where we're at. We don't really have anywhere at the moment with excess moisture or too much water on the landscape around the farm. But we do see some kind of lingering drought from the summer and fall, particularly around Minnehaha County and the Sioux Falls area. And then it does kind of stretch over into Minnesota, Iowa a little bit. But that is the driest part of the state right now. The month of November, Sioux Falls had its second driest November on record with 0.01, all of 0.01 inches of moisture there. Driest since 1914 as far as the month of November goes. And so that's kind of just an indicator of how dry that region is, or has been here recently in the last couple of months. I know the month of October was pretty wet for a lot of people. And so that did erase a lot of the drought area. So we're kind of just now looking at that southeast, east central part of the state. And also the reason why I like to look at drought this time of year too is because this is essentially where we end the season. A lot of drought does not change too much in the winter. Even if we get a lot of snow, for example, we typically don't see a lot of recovery in soil moisture. We typically wait until spring season to see where all that snow water goes. Some of it just straight sublimates or evaporates into the atmosphere. Some runs off. Some will go into the soil when it melts. So even if we get a lot of snow, we may see some changes in the drought monitor in that region, but oftentimes kind of wait a little bit to see what the actual impact is of that snowpack. So right now we're just looking at that area of the state. I know we had a very active summer season in the western part of South Dakota, especially around the Black Hills, Rapid City, Sturgis area. A lot of hail events this summer. Didn't hear too much of really extensive widespread damage, but a lot of little hail events. Something to think about overall for the summer season. Our severe weather was very quiet this year, below average on tornado activity and severe thunderstorms. So quite a big change from 2022, where we saw 2 derechos in the southeastern east central part of the state, many tornadoes in the northeast, and so on. So keep that in mind as you're visiting with your producers, your clients, that severe weather still does happen here, and then there's a lot of variability year to year. You can't really just kind of take an average and go with that. So looking at drought as compared to a year ago, this time, very different story. If people remember a year ago this time, we had a lot of drought across most of the state. Everywhere in the tan, orange, red color is what we'd consider drought. That D0, the yellow color, generally just meant abnormally dry conditions. But also remember this time last year, we were in the middle or just near the time where we had 2 or 3 blizzards in a row, right before Christmas. And we had a lot of weather happening at that time. But again, we've had huge improvements in the drought situation across the state. But remember that a lot of this drought lingered into early 2023 until we saw that the real impact of that snow water on the landscape and farms, and then some rains, also some timely rains in many areas. So I think drought wise, we're in a much better situation than a year ago this time. And we're seeing that reflected in, the pasture and range conditions and so on. And I'll show an example of that coming up in a little bit. Right here is winter wheat as one example of that. This is looking at the USDA NASS report, the last one for the season in November. You see the data on the left. The left panels are showing the 2024 crop. So what was planted here just this last fall. This is for South Dakota. At the top left, the red line is 2024. So kind of in the middle of the 5-year average. You see 2023 and 22 in the green and orange lines, much worse start than we have this year. So from what I've heard across the state, at least earlier this fall, planting and emergence is pretty good. The October rain really helped a lot of areas. And so I think we're in pretty good shape as far as starting off the winter wheat crop of 2024. And everything was going pretty smoothly until we got that hard freeze. And so then, crop conditions kind of hold stagnant in some areas after that. But we are looking at some other things to think about when we're looking at the winter wheat crop over winter, and I'll try to touch on those here coming up. Also kind of currently what we're looking at here is frost depth, pretty shallow for the most part across South Dakota. This is data from our Mesonet, our weather station network across the state. The numbers you see on the map there are inches of depth of frost. So anywhere from no frost at all, where it says thawed, to 1 to over a foot in the northwestern part of the state. That area does tend to get some of the deeper frost layers on some of those weather stations. So no big surprise there as far as, who is the deeper frost or not, but really pretty shallow for this time of year, especially given that we have no snow cover. Last year, since we got that pretty deep snow cover, in December last year, really our soils were not frozen very deep, if at all. So if we have an open winter, I would expect these frost depths to go pretty deep. We have seen frost depths, down to 60 inches, in some years when we have open winters or basically no snow cover. So it's something just to watch for that, because that can affect maybe some of your water lines, utility lines, those kinds of things that are buried that are typically not affected in the wintertime. Another kind of snapshot here, and this is from today. I should have maybe grabbed one from earlier, but this is what we call our poker chip map. Again, using the weather station data from the Mesonet. Each one of the stations that have colored circles here have 5 soil moisture and temperature, but 5 soil moisture sensors at each station. This is under the grass or vegetated cover at each weather station. And each one represents a depth. So in reality, they're not evenly spaced through the depth, but they're 2, 4, 8, 12, 20, and 40 inches, I believe, are the depths. But the gray colors indicated that layer is frozen. So they don't report moisture when they're frozen, but you see a lot of blues and greens, which is a pretty good. That means that we got something kind of middle of the road to slightly moister than average. The orange and yellows tend drier, and so you see that more in the northwestern part of the state. Some of those deeper soil layers are a little bit drier. But in the central and east, we're in pretty good situation for soil moisture. And by that, I mean we have some capacity to take in some additional moisture, and that we're not at max capacity and fully saturated. So that's good news going into the winter, where I think we're set up pretty good just in soil moisture situation for a good start to the season. And enough to get a good crop going for those spring planted crops, but also have room to use or take in some more moisture if we have snow melt, for example. Just looking at a national picture of soil moisture, this is as of the end of November, the last NASS report from USDA. My colleague at USDA puts this together. So the red squiggly line is the current year 2023. So overall, nationally, we were kind of middle to top of the pack as far as the last 10 years or so of soil moisture data for the country. And we ended up here second highest since 2015 as far as the national picture goes for soil moisture. So there's not a lot of drought is the alternate way to look at that. There's not a lot of drought across the country as far as in our ag production areas. There is some drought certainly, but not as extensive as a year ago this time. All right. So looking at the more of the climate outlook part of it now, this is a graph of a number of climate models that are predicting El Nino. This is looking at what is the sea surface temperature over in the equator part of the Pacific, because that broad region there can, if it's warmer or cooler than average, can change a lot of how our jet stream patterns go here over North America and really a lot of parts of the world that I'll show a little bit later. So to give you an example here on this graph on the right, 0.05 plus a positive 0.5, positive 0.5 anomaly or difference from average is the threshold for El Nino. We're way up here at like 1.5 or more as far as our sea surface temperature anomaly goes in the equator region of the Pacific. So we are way above the threshold for El Nino, so very confident. And 1.5 is a loose kind of unofficial threshold for what we call a strong El Nino. So there we have about a 3 in 10 chance at the moment of having the strongest El Nino on record as far as the sea surface temperatures go. So it's a very strong, very, very warm ocean at this point. That does not necessarily mean we have stronger impacts, I'll say here. It increases our confidence a little bit in that we will see some impact of El Nino, but it may not be a strong impact in anywhere in the world. So you see here a lot of these color lines. This is where a lot of these models are projecting going forward. The solid purple line and the solid green line are kind of two classes of computer models at this point. Both of them are projecting kind of a peak in the winter season. This is November, December, January, December, January, February down here. That's what these letters indicate. So kind of peaking around the winter, which is not unusual, and then taking a dive in the spring season. Looking further out, this graph doesn't show that. There are some hints to a transition to La Nina again for next winter, for a year from now. So that's quite a ways off. But right now we're looking at a very strong El Nino in play at the moment. So looking historically, what does that mean for us here in the US and in South Dakota? So this is every El Nino from 1950 to 2010, or sorry, to 2016, I believe. Yep, from 1950 to 2016. And they're sorted by the strongest to the weakest as far as looking at that sea surface temperature indicator. So strongest to weakest. So we're in the strong category at the moment. You look at the top strongest category, El Ninos, that's about 6 at the top there. All but one indicate warmer than average temperatures in this part of the country. And in fact, a couple of those have among the strongest warm signal of any El Nino, with the exception of 86, 87. So we have pretty, if history is an indicator of future performance, which I think in the case El Nino, there is a strong case to say that, warmer than temperatures, at least historically, would be what's indicated for our part of the country for the winter season. So that is winter, That's December, January, and February. For precipitation, we have less of a strong signal either way, wet or dry. So this is the same El Nino years, 1950 to 2016, sort of from strongest to weakest. If you're looking at the strong events there, but even really all of them historically, we don't see a strong tendency really one way or the other. Some slightly wetter, some years slightly drier, but not really consistent. And if anything, a pretty weak signal. So we have, at the moment, less confidence in the precipitation connection or signal for El Nino for our winter season. And the same is true for La Nina in this part of the country. There's not a strong link to precipitation here in South Dakota. The next question I often get is, so what about snowfall? So we're looking at, this is some newer data here that just came out a few weeks ago from NOAA, looking at all El Nino winters, and they call this January through March, kind of our peak winter season, snowfall season anyway. And this is a little bit different than some older data. So what we see here, as far as all El Nino winters go, we see a slight increase in snowfall in the winter season, particularly in the southwest or western part of the state, where the east still trends a little bit dry, below average on snowfall. Older data, before including the last few El Ninos, all of South Dakota, all the northern central states actually had reduction in snowfall in the winter season. So what I think we're seeing here are two things at play. Warmer temperatures that we see in El Nino often can bring less snowfall, really more rain, especially at the early and late part of the seasons. But also we're seeing our winters get wetter in general. And so that could mean more snowfall just because we have more precipitation kind of coming in the winter season. So I think this wetter signal, this increase in snowfall during El Nino years could maybe be a blend of when the snow falls, if it comes at that coldest time of year, and we're seeing an increase in precipitation. If we're looking at purely just the moderate to strong El Nino winters, and what that means for snowfall, really more of a mixed bag in South Dakota, nothing really consistent. More of the eastern areas tend to have less snowfall in those stronger El Nino winters. West, maybe slightly a little bit more, but again, not a very consistent message, I'd say, as far as snowfall during these moderate to strong El Nino winters. We're certainly off to a pretty slow start with virtually no snowfall on the ground right now in December. So as we look ahead, kind of what are our chances in the near to kind of medium term future as far as snowfall goes and precipitation and temperature. So this is looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook. This is the week of Christmas, December 22nd to 28th. This as of yesterday afternoon. And if you're looking at these do update every day, even on the weekend. So you can take a snapshot of this at any moment. Very high probability on the left, very high probability of warmer than average temperatures that week of Christmas. I know across South Dakota, there's a lot of talk about white Christmas. And historically, we have about a 60 to 70% chance of having a white Christmas almost anywhere in the state. I don't know if that's going to happen unless we catch some snow really right on Christmas Day or something like that. Really looking at warmer than average temperatures holding. And then on the right there, the precipitation forecast. Again, we see some areas slightly green. That's kind of a lower confidence, but maybe slightly leaning towards some precipitation events in that week. Not looking at anything really, really moist in the big sense, nothing really wet. But maybe we'll get enough to get a white Christmas somewhere in there. The northwestern part of the state is kind of favored more on the dry side there, that beige color. Um, with drier area really focused over Montana and the Northern Rockies. But yeah, we're kind of on the in between here in the next 2 weeks as far as precipitation goes. But certainly we're looking at warmer than average temperatures throughout the time. This was the December outlook that was released back at the last day of November. So certainly at that time, they had definitely identified warmer than average temperatures all across the middle part of the country. And then on the right, they kind of they didn't have a lot of confidence on the precipitation for December at that time. So really see a lot of areas still running below average for moisture for the month so far for the first couple weeks. So it's been very quiet here. I think we'll end up below average for a lot of parts of the state by the time the next 2 weeks is done, or 3 weeks. Jumping out ahead, January through March, and this information is a little bit stale, I'll tell you that. This was released on November 16th. The next update to these 3-month outlooks comes out next Thursday. So in a week. So this is a little stale at this point, but it kind of gives us a hint of where I think they might be going for the winter and early spring. So this is January through March. Again, this is peak El Nino time. If we have the highest confidence in El Nino impacts in this season, January through March. And you see that very clearly on the right image there, with above average temperatures favored across all the northern tier states. What's interesting here is this gray area down in the southern plains and into the southeast. They have not historically used that gray shading very often in the past. It's really something that they've pulled out here just for this winter season. It's always been there, but they just don't use it very much. That means they actually have some confidence in near normal temperature for that season. So they actually have some confidence in that, rather than just saying equal chances. That means they actually have chances leaning towards average temperatures. On the precipitation side, on the right, very typical El Nino pattern, with dry over the Northern Rockies, dry over the Great Lakes, and moist through the Southwest and into the southeastern states. So again, South Dakota is kind of squeezed in between. May catch some moisture on the southern part of the state, but that's a very low probability, just kind of a leaning more than anything down there. That's wintertime precipitation and temperature. As we look out towards spring, April through June, really the confidence in El Nino and that pattern really takes a dive. Sometimes these very strong El Nino events can just dissipate very quickly. You know, the ocean and atmosphere system, they're trying to get it into equilibrium, and we have such a strong warm pattern. Sometimes it swings very strongly the other way very quickly. Not always, but sometimes. So that's leading to less confidence as that transition away from El Nino happens in the spring season. Kind of looking at impacts on the farm side, getting back to the winter, go back to the winter here, looking at historical snowfall during El Nino years and looking at this precipitation forecast, not looking at real heavy snow amounts and not especially deep snow cover really anywhere, especially these warmer than average temperatures. So I'm thinking of winter wheat, some of those winter planted crops, some of those annual forages could have, we won't have as much snow cover to protect them from cold temperatures. So if we do, typically we still see cold snaps. So we could see some frost damage potentially with some of those winter wheat fields and alfalfa fields and so on, depending on how things play out. So just something to keep an eye out there. Again, I don't foresee anything close to the winter that we saw last year as far as snowfall goes. So I think we'll have a bit of a break there as far as cost of snow removal or time for snow removal in many cases. All right, just want to touch on some things in the broader sense. I've been to a couple meetings lately where they've talked about more about the global markets, and in particular Brazil. So this is really kind of tied to El Nino, where we have already some dryness, some drought in northern Brazil at the moment. And this is very consistent with the typical El Nino pattern. So looking at the top, it kind of summarizes all climate impacts around the globe for December through February. I also know someone who recently traveled to Ecuador in November, and they said it was very dry there for this time of year. So I think that's consistent with what we see with El Nino impacts. So just to give you an idea here, the top graphic, this brown area shows historically dry conditions with El Nino. This orange area shows historically warm conditions in that region with El Nino. And when you look further kind of over the equator, there's a transition to generally a warmer and wetter pattern in this part of the globe during that time. So if you're thinking about, the soybean and safrinha crop down here, I think they're going to be battling some drought and dryness, and think about that on the markets when you're looking out further ahead into the winter and spring season. Just wanted to share a couple of points in the last couple of minutes. There was a national climate assessment that was released just about a month ago, November 14th. I haven't had a chance to really write all this up yet in an extension article, but this is kind of updated information as far as climate trends and some modeled information for projections. Not a lot of changes from the last, this is the 5th edition. Not a lot of changes from the 4th edition from last one, but just kind of an update. And this is just a reminder to, for us, that our temperatures here have been an up increasing trend. In general, our winters are warming faster than our summer seasons. And our annual precipitation is increasing here too. And we see that all across from here all the way to the east across the Midwest region. General increases in precipitation. Not every season is the same, but we do see more enhancement of precipitation in kind of the growing season time, but winter is kind of stepping up, as I alluded to in the snowfall discussion. Winter season precipitation is starting to increase as well. So could mean good news as far as, I know it has meant good news as far as production and being able to increase yields and increase our growing regions and our growing seasons. But I know there are some challenges that come with that too, sometimes dealing with excess moisture, changes in pests, disease, and those kinds of things. And we will still see drought. That's still a feature of our climate here in South Dakota. So just because we're increasing precipitation, it doesn't happen every year, right? So we'll still have drought. If you're looking at long-term planning, insurance, those kinds of things, we see an increase in our rainfall coming from the wettest days of the year, the heaviest rain days of the year. And no matter what metric, this is looking at the heaviest 1% of days, the 5-year maximum precipitation, the annual maximum daily precipitation. No matter which way you slice it, we're seeing an increase in these bigger events and fewer of these small kind of wetting events to keep us going through the season. Something else that happened that same week of November, new release of the plant hardiness zones. Might not mean too much on the row crop or livestock side, but more on the horticulture, fruit and vegetable production, gardening, landscaping, those kinds of things. Basically reflecting the coldest winter temperature that we see here in South Dakota. And so, especially along the south, a lot of areas jumped from a zone 4 to a zone 5. So if you guys are hobbyists or you work with people in the horticulture landscape industry, certainly this is something they might be thinking about to start trying maybe some plants that can overwinter in some of these warmer climates, as we see our winters warming faster than any other season. I mentioned at the very beginning, severe weather. Typically we are seeing fewer tornado days nationally. But the days that we do see tornadoes, they tend to be big ones with multiple events per day. So that derecho day in May of 2022 is one example. I believe about half of our tornadoes for that whole year of 2022 happened on that one single day. So something to keep in mind. We still see severe weather in South Dakota, but we're seeing more of these tornado days be really active, with a lot of tornadoes happening in single days rather than ones and twos at a time. And last but not least, I did want to share about the South Dakota Mesonet, our weather station network. They're diligently putting out weather stations as fast as they can during the growing season. They've built up to over 50 stations statewide. So if you haven't checked it out lately, I encourage you to see if there's a weather station near you. They are continuously looking for more locations. Their plan is to build out to over 150 weather stations across the state by 2027, maybe 28. You see a lot of gaps there in the Red River Valley, in the north, some holes out west as well, and then along the southeast, along the Nebraska border, right along the Missouri, those counties there. So if you you yourself, or you have a client, friend, relative who has some land that would like to host a weather station there, there's a website there at the bottom. You can go to the Mesonet website in general and find that information on hosting up there. And they would love to have some more farmers sign up. Just to give you an idea, there's 5-minute data, temperature, precipitation, wind speed, all that stuff, plus webcams, a lot of it, and inversions for pesticide applications. So I encourage you to check that out when you have some time. So that is all I had to share, Heather. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Laura.